Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to More Than Magic. I'm your host, Kirsten Thompson. We are located at VodPod Media, a Black-owned studio in the heart of the east side of San Antonio, Texas. I am very excited to share this guest with you. Before we get into introductions, I'd like to ask you to just take a quick moment, please like the video. I know you haven't seen the content yet, but I promise you it's going to be good. And if you would share it, we would especially be grateful because we really want as many people as possible to see this episode and really every episode. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest. Her name is Kenyada Bell. Kenyada, welcome to More Than Magic.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. I really was excited when you said yes because I was holding my breath. I know how busy you are. I know you have a lot going on. And that's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to have you here, because I think people look at a woman like you and think, wow, she has it all, and how does she do it? But you and I both know that there's a lot under the surface
Right.
that takes that all to even exist. So, but first I wanted to ask you, this is a tradition we have at the show, and I ask every guest about their name, and your name is distinct. It's not something you hear every day. So I'd love to know the meaning of your name and who named you or how you came about to be Kenyada.
Okay, well, Kenyada with a DA, which is very unique because most of the Kenyadas that I meet typically have the YATTA. My name is Swahili, and it means precious gem.
Yes.
And I was named after my godmom. Well, not after my godmom. My godmom named me.
Right.
So I'm hoping precious gem is emerald because my favorite color is green, and it gives me a special type of energy. We'll go with that.
Listen, I love it, and I think anybody that knows you would probably agree and describe you as a gem because you offer so much of yourself to the community and to people and to your family. So when I reached out to you, I was like, I hope she says yes. And you said you would come on the show, and you just very nonchalantly slid in, my daughter's moving to Israel tomorrow. And I was like, wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
So I know that you have a daughter that you raised, and you were a single mother for a long time.
Yeah.
And now she's a law school. Let's just talk about. Yeah, there's so much. I have 20 questions I want to ask you just about her, but we don't have time for all that. So let's talk about what it was like raising a daughter on your own for a period of time. We know that you're married now.
Right.
But I think it's important for women to know that, being a single mother isn't like a curse of death.
No, it's not a curse of death at all. And being single mother, her dad was still in her life. We just weren't married.
Right.
I had Lexi when I was 16. I had the support at the time. Teen mother, I had the support of my family, thankfully. And we kind of grew up together. And at this point, I can honestly say, me being my age and her being, she's now 27 years old. Wow. She is one of my best friends. We went through school together. At some point, I was in college. She was graduating high school. She went off to college, got her degree in business finance, followed in my footsteps with that. And then she went off to be an attorney, and now she's an attorney and living in Israel.
I love it. Go, Lexi. I feel like I remember you sharing stories about her when she was younger. And I'm like, now she's a woman. How is that possible?
Just the fact that I raised such a strong, free woman. She is not a people pleaser. She is not reserved. She lives life on her own terms. And she just goes with the flow, and I love it. I love it. I honestly wish at her age I possessed even a fraction of the qualities that she has. Yeah. It's very, very admirable to look back and say, I did this. Yeah. So, yeah.
But I think that's what we all want for our children. We want them to have more than we did, whether it be like access to certain opportunities or just, a wider a bigger understanding of the world. So you did a good job, Mama.
Yeah, she sent me a text the other day. She goes, by the end of the summer, I will be on 17 countries. So
I love that.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I love that for her. And I feel like a lot of, our show is a show where I only interview Black women.
Right.
And I think it's beautiful to see that more Black women are embracing the idea of traveling and just getting outside of their bubble and really, really seeing the world. And so it's nice to see someone so young get it. Because a lot of us are like looking back and saying, oh, no, I got to scramble.
Right.
She got it early.
We're trying to figure things out. And with that, I want to appreciate you for providing a positive platform for Black women. Thank you. I appreciate it. All of the women who come on the show have been absolutely amazing. And hats off to you.
Thank you. It needed to happen. I feel like every time you log into social media, you watch TV, we're like throwing chairs at one another, or somebody's cursing someone out, and I think you've known me long enough. Like, I just don't operate in that space. Like, I will leave, I will walk away, and I'm like, what do I want to see? And I'm like, well, the only way you can see it is if you create it. And there's a lot of programming out there, but this is special.
And it's genuinely you. You've always been a very supportive person, supporting me from day one. I mean, the day we met, even just coming to hang out in my first store with your banana in your purse. You've just been super supportive, introducing my brand to your clients. I mean, it's.
No, it was a pleasure. That's how we're supposed to be. I was telling someone the other day, like, we don't all have to be like best buddies and be in each other's face every day to support another woman.
Right.
Like, sometimes the way life happens, you can't always talk to people daily. You can't always see them or go to brunch or go hang out. Like, I personally don't have time for to do a lot socially.
Right.
But I think it's important that we all like speak each other's names in rooms that are closed.
It's that I got you factor.
Yeah.
Just to know that unsaid, unheard, someone has your back. Yeah. And that's important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'm trying to be better about receiving when people affirm me, so I received that. So I would love to talk to you about, it's so funny. So when I made the flyer for this, I didn't make the flyer, Gylan did. I'm sorry.
Let's give him his credit.
Yeah, thank you, Gylan. I sent him all the information. I'm like, please get this out today. So when I shared the flyer, I was keeping up with who was resharing it. And one of the main comments was like, oh my God, is it going to be a fashion show?
Right.
Because everyone knows you as the owner of her, let me correct it. You had a name change. So now it's Style Therapy.
Yes.
Her Style Therapy.
Exactly.
Okay. So, it was very important to really talk to you as the person, because you're more than like a fashionista.
And I appreciate that.
So I am curious to know, though, when did you get like an inkling or even an idea that you wanted to do anything that had to do with fashion?
I remember being 6 years old, and my grandmother raised me, and she was a stickler when it came to presentation.
Ooh.
You always had to look your best. I mean, 100% walking out of the house.
Right.
And I remember she bought me this cute little purple leather mini skirt.
Ooh, yes.
It was so cute. And I don't remember what I was supposed to wear this mini skirt for, but I saw it hanging in the closet and I'm like, that skirt's so pretty. But when she picked out my clothes to dress me for school, it was some jeans and just an outfit that I just wasn't feeling at the time.
Right.
And I remember brushing my teeth and I had this bright idea. And I can tell this story now because she can't do anything about it. But I was brushing my teeth and the jeans were red. I took toothpaste and smeared it on my jeans because I knew if she saw that toothpaste on my jeans, she wasn't going to let me wear that outfit to school. Needless to say, I didn't get to wear the cute purple leather skirt.
Right.
But at that time, I knew that I had my own style, and it was something that was dear to me. Like, I wanted to look a certain way when I walked in, and I noticed when I presented myself a certain way with my style, people received me different. And even in high school, I remember wearing 4-inch heels in high school. And then being 16, like I said, having my daughter, still having that fashion. Now she's into fashion. So, I mean, it's been since I was a little girl. I knew I wanted a boutique when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just a trend or a fad for me.
Right. Now, initially, your boutique was a brick and mortar. There was an actual physical location.
Yes.
And you switched to online, which was very smart.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the challenges of even, because I think a lot of people nowadays just think like, I like fashion, I'm going to be a boutique owner and it's going to be cute. I'm going to dress up and I'm going to have my friends over and we'll just all be cute. Let's talk about the work that it takes, because I'm sure someone will be watching this and has an idea, but like when you first decided that you wanted to open the boutique, what were the steps that you had to take before you even opened the doors?
Okay. Goes back to a little story. We would have something called Family Fun Night on Mondays. It would be me, my daughter, my husband, my boys. We would go out for Family Fun Night, and we were going down Broadway. And there was a boutique. It was a cute little boutique. And I said, that's a cute little boutique, but if that was my boutique, I would do this different. And so my husband, he goes, well, you don't have a boutique. And I was like, well, that was rude. And my daughter goes, you know what, Mom? He's right. This is something that you've been talking about since you were young, like since I was a little girl, and it's something you never did. And I'm that person, you can't call my bluff, because when you do, it's 90 miles an hour.
Right.
And they did. And I remember it being December. It was December of 2013. I was working a corporate job at the time. That next day, I got to work and I got on that computer and I started doing research, and it was a lot of research. But the first thing I tumbled upon was the magic show, Magic Market Week.
Oh, yes.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to sign up and go. Mind you, this is December. It was in February.
Yeah.
So at work, I made a fake paper business card on the computer.
Okay.
And I sent all my information in, and I got registered for Magic Market Week. When February came, I went to Magic Market Week, and I just started networking with any vendor that I thought had cute clothes. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was asking for samples because I knew I wanted quality items. And at the time, you know, when you walk into Magic, there's thousands.
It's overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's thousands of square feet. There's 2 different centers, 1 convention center, and then there's the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and it's a mess. But I did my thing. But when I was there, I knew that was what I wanted to do. And I knew I was supposed to be there. So my research started with them calling my bluff, and then me going to Magic Market Week and just building those relationships with the vendors to where now
They just send you stuff.
They send me stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I see people selling these vendor lists. And someone even sent me a vendor list
Let's
that they
talk
bought.
about it.
Someone sent me a vendor list that they purchased, and I looked at the list, and it was hilarious, especially when I saw the boutique that they purchased the list from. And I'm looking at the list, and I said, they don't use these vendors. And it's all about not wanting it to come easy all the time. You have to do the research. You have to find what works for you, what you want to have in your store. Just because I have a cute pair of jeans and I sold out of those jeans in 15 minutes does not mean you're going to get those same cute pair of jeans and sell out in 15 minutes.
Right.
You have to do your market research. Like, what's your customer avatar? What does your customer look like? My customer doesn't go out a lot. She may go to brunch. 9 times out of 10, she's a mom. She's a corporate woman. She likes classy, but she likes a little bit of sexy from time to time. But if that's not your customer, I can't sell you my vendor list.
Yeah.
So it's all about seeing what works for you and the direction you are trying to go within your boutique. So that's all I got.
And the relationships.
That you build, because one thing that I can say I pride myself in is being first sometimes. Having those items that you may not have even seen with some of the larger name vendors. I may not be as big as them or make as much money as them, but the relationships that I've built with these vendors who know me on a first name basis is immeasurable. And I'll take that anytime. And then when it's my time to grow and be that big, if that's what's for me, then it'll be for me.
It's coming. But you also have really good relationships with your actual clientele.
Yes.
So I have, I've purchased from you in the past. I've purchased things from you for clients, but I've also just observed the way that you interact with your clientele. And it's very much a sister, girlfriend, still very professional,
right?
But you actually know a lot of your clients. You know them, you can tell them. I've seen you say oh, this will fit you, it's a medium.
Right.
Or you already have a red dress, let me send you the black one. I've seen little interactions over the years.
Yeah.
And that I just want to give you kudos for, because I think sometimes people overlook the relationship. The people that shop with you know that you really do care about how they look.
I do. And I'm not going to sell you something to put $1 in my pocket. But the reason I have the relationships that I have with my customers is because it's not about fashion for me.
Let's talk about it.
Yes. I feel like fashion is an avenue, but my ministry is women and the confidence that they feel when they get dressed, when the trust that they can put into me when I say, you know what, I don't think that'll work for you, but maybe you should try this. And that's what it's about. I don't want to just sell clothes. I've never wanted to just sell clothes. That's not fulfilling for me. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of the reason when I did close my store in 2017, I went online. And it took 2 years for me to realize that fashion was just an avenue for me to be able to pour into women and be that listening ear. When I tell you the walls, 1010 South Flores, the conversations held within those walls, the secret held within those walls, people who have opened up to me. Yeah. I mean, you can't put a price on that. And the thing is if I decided that I never wanted to sell clothes again, that would never change the relationships that I've built over the past, 10 years almost. Wow. Yeah. And that means everything to me.
I really like to, as much as I can, talk about the difference between fashion and style. I want to hear your take on that. because there is a difference. And I think sometimes people use them interchangeably.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear your
Fashion
perspective.
is for me, fashion is what's put on the forefront. That may be what you see on videos or what you may see on the runway. But style is you. It's a feeling. It's what you turn that fashion into.
Yes.
You're going to have people that say you're too much. You're going to have people that say you're not enough. But if it makes you feel good, nothing else matters.
Right.
That is style, to be able to walk into a room and not say a single word because it speaks volumes.
Yes.
And that's my philosophy on style.
Yeah. I feel very much the same way. And I
Yeah.
really try to impress upon people that like fashion is more of like the piece or the business. You know,
Right.
fashion is a business,
Right.
but style is something you cultivate and it's how you express yourself.
Exactly.
And it has an energy to it.
Yeah.
Like you can open up all sorts of opportunities. You can go places physically and metaphorically based on how you present yourself and what you're
Anyone can put
communicating.
on clothes.
Yes.
Anyone can put on clothes. And then the thing is you can wear this outfit right off of the mannequin. But who's to say how you're going to feel when you put that outfit on? Cute? I don't want to just feel cute.
Right.
I want to feel empowered. I want to feel like all eyes are on me.
Right.
I want to feel like when I'm walking into the
And there's
room,
nothing
people are
wrong
like,
with that.
and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And it's even if it's good for the moment, you know, because as women, I feel like we have our moments. And I talked about that a little bit earlier when I said I have these confusing insecurities. And there will be one day when I'm sitting there and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm just not enough. Like, why am I here? What is this supposed to be? And then I have these days where I'm like, who?
Can't tell me nothing.
Can't tell me nothing.
Right.
I am the flyest thing in the room. I don't care who else is around me.
Right.
And it's crazy. And that's the scale we tip. Like it's either one way or the other. I might wake up in the morning feeling like everything's great. And then in that one moment, next moment, I'm trying to convince myself that I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah. But thank you for sharing that, Kenyada, because at this point I know. We were talking a little bit before the show, before our producer was like, save it for the show. But most people, and specifically Black women, I think we've talked about this on every show, or almost every show with every guest.
Right.
Like imposter syndrome is really a real thing. Feeling like you're an imposter and you don't belong in a space, even though you may have done the work to get there, you may have studied, you may have trained, you may have put in hours and sweat and blood and tears,
Right.
and you still show up feeling like, maybe she deserves it more than I do.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you share that with us because, again, I think it's a lesson not to like just think you can know everything about someone by how they look. Because if
Right.
someone just saw you walk through right now, they'd be like, oh, she is fly. She has everything in life figured out. But we all still struggle with something.
Right.
And you're not alone in that feeling that we all have. I mean, I have it sometimes where I'll go, especially when I'm around like academic circles, which I tend to be a lot.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know if let me go back and read. You know, it's just, how do we get past that, you think? Like, what is your take on that?
Getting past it, that's a good question. And I don't quite have the answer for that. But I will say that I indeed suffer from imposter syndrome. And it's been a long time. And I feel like in the Black community, as Black women, we have to do a lot of people pleasing. And people will say, oh, I'm not a people pleaser. Oh, I don't care what people think. That's on the surface. Because at the end of the day, we're human. And you may not show that you care, but a part of you cares what people think and how people are going to receive you. And with us, I feel like it's such a, I don't know the word that I'm looking for. It's
like a cloud hanging over our head?
It's like a cloud hanging over our head. And I remember being in elementary school, and I got these Nikes, and they were pink and white. And I would remember going to school, and some of the times I wore certain outfits and stuff. People wouldn't want to be my friend. And it would be maybe because I had on a new cute outfit or something like that. And I feel like it's so present in our community because as Black women, we were some of the first people to hurt each other. And it's sad. And people might really shun me for saying this, but it's my truth. A lot of my hurt have come from other Black women. Whether it's
I don't want to cry because I
don't
feel
cry, don't cry.
No, because it's a very real thing.
And I feel like if it's a way that I wanted to wear my hair a long time ago and someone didn't like it, they talked about me. Or in situations where I thought someone was my friend, but they just wanted to see what they can get out of me. And I mean, there's so many situations that I can name. And
Same.
When it comes to us getting dressed up and looking our best, like they say, you're really getting dressed for, it's either yourself or other women because it's not for men. And we're always tiptoeing around how people are going to receive us. And it's sad. You want to be loved by the people who look like you. And you want to give them that love back. And I mean, I've been on both ends too, not to say it's just been done to me, but I think that's a lot of what drives our imposter syndrome. It drives our people pleasing, not thinking we're good enough, because even when we feel it within ourselves, that moment we see someone doubt us even a little bit, then we backtrack. And why is that? Like, it's really something to think about.
Yeah, no, it's, I was talking with a girlfriend recently, and she and I both agreed that when we have hurt inflicted upon us by our sisters, it's like more devastating than like a romantic breakup.
It is.
Like, sorry brothers, sorry men, but like, those things you kind of get over.
It's long lasting.
Yeah.
It's long lasting, and it affects our relationships with other people in the future. It affects how we open up. Absolutely. It affects how we trust. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Well, and I want to applaud you because I see that the work that you do is countering a lot of that. Like, I know that you have spent time mentoring young girls in the community. You had like a fashion camp.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk also about this luncheon that you have coming up in May. So I remember the first year you did this luncheon.
Yeah, you spoke.
And it's so interesting because at the time you weren't really sure if it would be received well.
Right.
And it has been. And now it's like people really, really, I'm sure people have been like, when are the tickets going on sale? When can I? So let's talk about the luncheon and why you started it. And what, why you started it. What was your why, and then what is it for?
Okay, well, my why, I just wanted to, at the time, my boutique was brand new, and I just wanted to have a way for women to connect. Not necessarily a women empowerment event.
Right.
I don't know how I feel by that term, empowerment, because honestly, I feel like you can inspire, but I don't feel like you can really empower someone. Like, I feel like you can inspire, and that's pretty.
And a lot of those, let's just call it what it is. A lot of those women's empowerment things are like Mean Girls.
Yeah.
They're not really.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I see I've seen posts floating around about the empowerment things being a lot of the people who have them being mean girls. And it's funny to me, I would never take that personal because I've never been a mean girl.
Right.
I've always been on the other side of the mean girls. And yeah, I agree. And like mine is strictly for networking.
Yes.
Networking, finding other people who are like-minded, and trying to bring business to other Black-owned businesses. I know a lot of the times there's one business who, I want to say not the first event, but has been at almost every single one of my events as a vendor. It's been Wax Snobs and Girl Talk Beauty Bar. She does lashes.
Right.
They set up at pretty much every single one of my
It's got to
women
be a
events.
good feeling.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
good feeling because they keep coming back. And then though they have been the constant, but different women come every year. Corinne Stevie, she sells makeup, she braids hair, she reaches out to me all the time. I've had a lot of new women reach out to me this year, and I want to do a different twist on my event this year. Every year is typically we're just sitting at tables, we're playing games, we have a speaker, and I want to do a little different this year. I want to do it more like a mixer to where we can actually get up and we're moving around and we're meeting other people and there's music involved and we can
Yes.
dance and we can just have a good time and still find people within that moment that's going to inspire us. Instead of having a speaker, I want to do it more like a panel to
Right.
where we can ask questions in secret. So I'm going to have a jar. I'll have 3 jars. There'll be a mental health jar, there'll be a friendship jar, and then there'll be a jar for business. And when you walk in, you can put these anonymous questions in the different jars.
Oh, I love that.
And we'll have women who can just answer these questions, whatever they may be in any capacity. So I think that'll give us an opportunity to kind of engage a little bit more as to just sitting at your table with your group.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to it this year. It's May. It's May 7th. So almost 30 days away. Tickets will be on sale until the week before. I have to cut them off before. So there'll be food, of course. There'll be a great DJ, awesome women. This year's theme is Go with the Flow. So wearing your best flowy dress or top or shorts, whatever, just flowy.
Yes.
There'll be a fashion show from several local boutiques and also from Thrifty Tip.
Oh, yes. Tiffany. Shout out to Tiffany.
She's one of my favorites. So she'll be there showing us some repurposed items as well for the ladies who like to engage in. There'll be an open bar.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, it's going to be a really good time. And it's a garden event. So that's a little different for me this year, too.
So is this the kind of event that, like, you wish? Because I hear a lot of times people will start an initiative or a series of events, and they'll say they created it because it's something they would have wanted to attend. Was that kind of,
Yeah,
like, this
pretty
is the thing
much.
you would want to see, and so you created it?
Yeah, when I opened my store, I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to connect with a different audience, and it happened through my boutique. Through my events, I've got more people to shop at my store. I've been able to build relationships, and unknowingly, I've even been able to inspire some people. I had a lady come up to me and tell me that I inspired her to go back to nursing school. That was years ago. She is now a nurse practitioner.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, amazing. And I saw her, we're Facebook friends. Her name's Geraldine. And then I saw her at the last event that I attended. So, I mean, that was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know I was inspiring, but it's good
Well,
to
you
hear that
are.
I was able to shine a light at some point. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that people feel like anything having to do with fashion is always going to be inherently, like, silly or fluff or kind of frivolous.
Right.
And I know that you don't feel that way.
No.
Like, there's a whole bunch of energy that you can cultivate.
Right.
Like, fashion fashion and style may be at the nucleus,
Right.
but you're able to take that energy out and give it to people in different ways
Right.
and see something beautiful happen.
Exactly. And even in terms of compliments,
Yeah.
like, oh, girl, that skirt is gorgeous. That's a
Yes.
conversation piece.
Yes.
Shoes are a conversation piece. Fashion is one of the big things that bring us together as
Yes.
women.
Yes.
And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That's a connecting point for us.
It's real.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how, so I don't know if a lot of people know that outside of being like, because I do consider you may not think of yourself as what is the word? I just blanked. Influencer, but you are. I think you were an influencer even before the term people started using it. Like, you use your platform to influence people positively. And a lot of that is surrounding fashion and style and personal presentation.
Right.
But I don't know if everyone realizes that there's a whole other side of Kenyada, who is a very critical thinker, very analytical, and that you have a professional, secular, profession that has nothing to do with fashion at all.
Right.
So I would love to talk to you about that and balancing those two and making it work. So what are some of the things that you've done that have nothing to do with Her Style Therapy Boutique professionally?
Professionally, I have been in the mortgage industry for a very, very long time. Finance is my baby. I love finance. I love research. I love watching CNN. It's just so weird that when people look at me, all they see is fashion, and there's so much more to me than fashion. Like, I'm smart.
Thank you. Say it again.
And I know I'm smart, and I know there are so many layers to Kenyada Bell, who was Kenyada Mathis. And there's so many layers to me that people don't know outside of fashion. And I'm finding that with me transitioning into real estate and transitioning from the corporate world. And the real estate transition has been a little difficult for me because, and people would always say, well, you can use your fashion clientele to help go over to your real estate clientele. And as much sense as it makes, my fashion clientele sees me as fashion.
Right.
And if you haven't sat down and had that type of conversation with me, you wouldn't know. And I don't think people really take the time to, I don't think they care to see, to see what more there is. They know what they want me for, and that's clothes.
Right.
So I'm really trying to reposition myself to be an influencer for both. And the funny thing is I worked a corporate job while I had my store as an underwriter. And I was an underwriter all through 2020 up until last May. May 9th of 2022, I was laid off of my job. And the very next week, I was a part of like a Mother's Day fashion show brunch, or sometime around there, I was a part of a brunch. So I presented my fashion and I got on stage to tell a little bit about myself. And I blanked out. And like I said, I had just lost my job. I didn't know where I wanted to go with my boutique. And I said, hi, I'm Kenyada, and I'm the owner of Her Style Therapy Boutique, and that you can find me online. That's all I got. And that has bothered me ever since that day because I'm a talker.
Right.
And for me to get up there and blank out was different. And I know why. It's because I'm an underwriter. I'm a realtor. I'm a boutique owner. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a friend. Those are titles. I'm not a title. So when you ask me about myself, I've come to the conclusion that I'm a woman.
Right.
I am multifaceted. I'm genuine. I love hard. And I'm me. And that's all I can give you at the end of the day. I'm not a title.
Right.
And it took a year of me realizing, like you said, these last couple years have been hard for a lot of us. And it took me to get in a position to where I didn't know who I was to figure out who I was. And so many times we ask someone, so tell me about yourself. And you're like, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do. Who are you outside of what you do? You're you. And you don't have to give a 20-minute blurb
Right.
on who Kirsten is.
Right.
Kirsten
But our
Thompson.
society,
It's an expectation, but
Yeah.
why?
yeah.
But why? I'm me, and I'm living in me, and I'm this person today, and I might be someone else tomorrow. I might be in a great mood right now. I might be in a bad mood in a minute. I might feel like I want to be vegan this day, and this day I may want to eat meat.
Right.
But I'm me.
Yeah.
And that's all you can be. You don't have to be a title to describe yourself. You are you
But
in every single form of your life.
Oh, someone said they can't hear. You know, I'm just going to call it what it is. A lot of that is a byproduct of, colonization. I hate to always go back to that, but, in our own traditional cultures, I have a lot of friends from all over the world, and specifically my friends who are African.
Right.
They are always very much about like their bloodline and their family legacy.
Right.
So this is so-and-so, his father was this, their mother was this, they married this family. And it's very much about where you're from and who your family is, and that's your identity.
Right.
And everything else is like, oh, that's nice, you're an engineer, you're a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. But those things are almost secondary. And it's interesting, as Black women, as women of color living in this particular matrix that we're in,
Right.
we are having to navigate things that are kind of unnatural to us.
Right.
I don't think most of us want to like give a rundown of everything we do.
Exactly.
It's exhausting.
Right.
But we know people are expecting it.
Exactly.
You
Like,
know?
what do you do? It's like, what do you do?
Right. I just tell people I'm an abolitionist. And then they just look like, oh,
Right.
okay.
They're like, okay, never mind. I don't want to go
They're
that
like,
route.
okay, bye, nice meeting you. Well, I don't do that with everyone. I do that with certain people. But it's true. We're so much more than like the titles or the letters behind our name.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, it's also important to be proud of those things. And so
Right.
juggling it is like
Yeah.
a tightrope walk. Because if you went to school for however many years to earn a skill or a degree or whatever, like you want people to put some respect on your name.
Right.
But that's not all you are.
Exactly.
So it can be exhausting.
Right.
Yeah.
And with it, it's like you don't want to say too much here and then you leave this out over here. What if I say all those things and I forget to say I'm a mom and my kids are watching?
Right.
It's...
What do you think about the idea of being humble? I'm curious about what your take is on that. Because I had a conversation with someone recently about, make sure you stay humble. And I was like,
I feel like being humble would
I
hurt
don't-
me. I feel like if I wasn't humble in a lot of instances that I can be so much further. But like I said earlier, there's people that's always going to feel like you're being too much, and then there's people that are going to feel like you're not enough. So I say pop your
Thank you. Yeah, well, the conversation that I had, it's with,
Yeah.
so I won't say her name because she might not want her name said on this, but it's someone, I think we both know her. And she was just like, well, I think it's important to stay humble. And my
stay grounded,
grounded, yes.
but not, if you got it, you got it.
Right.
You have to stay grounded. You have to know your foundation and you have to know your why, but you don't
Right.
have to be humble.
Right.
Why not express who you are, what you've provided, and what you've accomplished?
Right.
Why not be proud of it? It can take us so much further.
Yeah.
Most of the people who are on the platforms in the forefront, they're not sitting back saying, oh my God, should I share this about myself? No, they're like, this is who I am. I'm unapologetic. And this is what I have provided, and this is what I have to offer. There is nothing wrong with that.
Well, and I think for us, there's a whole world out there that imitates and tries to
Right.
emulate things about us, whether it be our bodies or hairstyles or the fashion or, just our overall, the style that we exude naturally
Right.
as Black women. And so when I look at that piece and I turn on anything and I see someone speaking in a certain manner, and I know that that's not their normal tone,
Right.
or wearing clothing that is not really of their own culture, but they've kind of like taken it on. It's not that those things are bad. It's just I know where it comes from. And
Yeah.
so it's like, why would you be humble if
Right.
everyone
They take it on
if the whole world-
unapologetic,
Right.
but yet
But-
we want to apologize when we do too much.
Right.
But they're unapologetic with what we do,
Right.
which is crazy.
It's twisted.
Which is crazy. And I think that goes again back to the notion of being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
You don't want people to think that you're doing too much. And then you have these people that says, well, you need to be humble because what you have can be taken away. It's like, yeah, it can be taken away, but I'm working for this. And why wouldn't I want to put on the forefront what I'm working hard for?
Absolutely.
So
How did you learn, because we all have to learn it, how did you learn to say no to people? Because every businesswoman has to do it.
I just learned to say no, and I still struggle with
It's
no.
hard.
It's hard. In terms of my family, I'm even working on it with them because I'm of course not alone, but I'm raising young Black men, and I want them to be self-sufficient. And I want them to be able to provide for themselves. And I want them to be able to provide for their future families. So if I sit back and just hand them everything, then what do they have to learn from me? So I'm learning, no, you do it yourself. No, you take the time to research this. No, you learn on your own. And even in times where, when it comes to on the business end with like fashion shows and stuff like that, and constantly being asked to be a part of things, if I were to participate in everything someone reaches out to me to do, I will not have any room in the world for myself. Fashion show after fashion show after fashion show is exhausting.
Yeah.
Once that fashion show is over, you have to figure out what you're going to do with these clothes that the model wears. They're super expensive. You're not getting paid for these shows. Clothes are getting messed up. You can't even sell them. So I am outside of my event, but I am at this fashion show right now.
Good for
because
you.
it takes so much from me. And I'm like, there has to be a way I can get my business out without always having to put myself on the forefront and overworking myself for 3 minutes?
Right.
It's about 4 minutes. Yeah. So in terms of that, it's no. It's in terms of constantly having people reach out for quote unquote advice. I'm finally getting to the point where I'm comfortable with saying, you know what, I don't have the capacity to help you right now. It causes burnout. And at this age and at this point in my life, I can't handle burnout.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah.
If it's not going to fulfill me 100%, I can't do it.
And that's a hard lesson for a lot of us to learn because we kind of wait until we get to the point of burnout.
It's hard to learn to say no, and it's also hard to accept no.
Ooh, yeah, this is true. It goes
You're on
both ways.
ends of the double-edged sword there. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. But I think learning how to say no, sometimes we walk around with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder.
Right.
And we realize that maybe we've helped put it there because we're accepting things that other people are like hoisting onto us.
Exactly.
So we're kind of mad at them, but it's like, but we allow it.
But we didn't say anything, so we're
Right.
just letting them pile, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier until the point where you're having a breakdown. Your mental health is suffering, all at the cost of helping other people without helping yourself first. And now I see it in any capacity. If I'm not good, I can't help you be good.
Right.
So I'm sorry, but no.
Yeah. And sometimes, tell me if you agree with this, sometimes the helping people pause. The helping other people be good is literally just you showing up well, showing up rested, showing up feeling good.
Right.
Because people see that, and that is inspiring.
When you're at your best, you give your best.
Yes. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're literally having to like hold people's hand,
Right.
or you're having to walk them through things. You're just showing up as your full self in your power.
Exactly.
And then people do notice.
Yeah.
You know, I've had people tell me before, like, Kirsten, like, I'm worried about you, girl. Are you sick again? Because you don't look so hot. And I've had to say, like, yeah, I haven't been resting like I'm supposed to. People notice.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, they noticed when you are like, oh, she must be doing really
you're
well.
glowing, girl.
Yeah,
so yeah.
It's really important I was just curious how you learn to get to know, because it's a hard thing. And I think most business women, wives, mothers, you know, all struggle with that. So speaking of being a wife, how long have you been married now?
I have been married for 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but you shared this really sweet story with me a long time ago.
Oh, goodness.
Is it okay if we talk about it?
Go ahead.
Well, I just remember you telling me that when you met your husband, he shared something with you. I just remember it was like New Year's Day, and he shared something with you and said that if, like, the person that you see, yes, because it was so sweet, but I don't want to mess it up, and it's your story, so I want to let you tell it.
We were going into New Year's, and I was spending New Year's with my daughter, and I asked him at the time what plans he had for New Year's Eve. And I was trying to make a cheesecake for myself and my daughter, and it turned out to be the most horrible cheesecake ever. This was a long time ago. And I remember being on the phone with him, and I was like, yeah, I tried to make this cheesecake, and it was just absolutely horrible. And I don't know what we're going to do tonight now, because for New Year's, we were going to eat the cheesecake, whatever. So, and I said, yeah, you know, they say whoever you spend your New Year's Eve with is the person that you spend the rest of the year with. I mean, that's just what it is.
Right.
And he was like, oh, really? Yeah, I've never heard that. And I was like, yeah. And got off that subject, started talking about other stuff or whatever. And it was, I think the clock struck 12, and he rang my doorbell, and he had the cheesecake. And he was like, you said the person you bring the new year in with is the person that you're going to spend the rest of the year with. And yeah, that's it.
And now here you are 14 years later.
14 years later.
So can we talk about how important it is to have a supportive partner, or the right partner? Yeah.
Whoo-wee. Girl, it is very important to have the right partner that lets you be exactly who you are. When we met, I was working at USAA. I had been there for, I think, 7 or 8 years at that time, and I hated it. I hated my job, and I ended up getting pregnant with our second child. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm stressed out. He was like, okay, well, quit. And he gave me that push to go ahead and be able to quit my job. So I quit my job then. I'm like, this man probably ready to. So then that's one thing.
Right.
So then I was like, you know, when I was in high school, I really wanted to go to cosmetology school. That was my thing. I was going to go to cosmetology school. I was going to be a hairstylist. I was going to open up this cute little boutique in my hair salon. Right. That was always a big, big dream of mine. And I told him that. And he let me go to cosmetology school.
I didn't know you went to cosmetology school.
Yeah. So while I was pregnant.
That's why your hair is always laid.
When I was pregnant with Brayden, I was in cosmetology school up until I had him. So then I decided, you know what? I don't want to be a cosmetologist. I'm standing on my feet all of these long hours. I don't want to do that. And I don't know if I didn't give it a fair chance, because I was standing on my feet doing hair pregnant.
I was big pregnant. That's intense, yeah.
So went away from that. Decided after I had Bray to go back into corporate. Went back into corporate. I had my, I was underwriting.
Okay.
Wells Fargo, several companies. The last job before my boutique, I was working for a company called Analytic Focus. I was a forensic underwriter for Analytic Focus. That's when the boutique notion came to mind. Right. And I stopped working there while I got let go. I was talking to a girl, and I told her what I was doing, and she told on me, and I got fired. Yeah.
Wait, you told her about the boutique?
I told her about the
I think this is actually
boutique.
coming back. I think you may have shared this with me.
That's why I feel weird about people named Jamie sometimes. But I was talking to her, and she was so into fashion, but I was training her for the job. And I took a vacate. I went to Magic. That's what's funny. So I went to Magic Market Week, and when I got back to work, everyone was acting really weird towards me. So about a week or so later, I had another vacation day planned, and the next day I got to work, and they let me go because she told that I was opening a boutique, and with the type of work that I was doing, you could only have one job. I was pretty much a consultant for attorneys that were suing big banks. So I could only have one job. So after that, he was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You're going to open your boutique in a couple months. We're going to make it work. So he supported me opening my boutique, the ups and downs from my boutique, the long hours of being in the stores. And I would take it home with me sometimes. And I would always be looking on sites and vendor sites and stuff like that. And being self-employed is it's no joke. And if you don't have someone that supports you through those $3 days and then those $3,000 days, you can really hit some rough patches. And it hasn't always been 100% for us, but we were able to work through it. And we're here, and I'm still self-employed, and I'm sure there are times when he still wants to pull his hair out, but I mean, that's what we got.
But the fact that you had someone who was still, I mean, I hope he doesn't mind being called a cheerleader. I'm trying to think of a better word. But
there's male cheerleaders.
Yeah, you're right. Like, he was in your corner, and you knew he had your back. And I've seen like little memes that say, like, if you want to date an entrepreneur or marry an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to be either like a cheerleader or an assistant. If you don't want to be one of those two things, like, get out of the way. And it's kind of funny.
No,
but there's some truth to that. Like, you need to either be helping them with like the structural things and give support in that way, or you need to just be rooting them on and saying, money. You can, yes.
And that's the truth. And I'm very appreciative of that. And there are times with, like, he's a high school basketball coach, and there's probably maybe 2 games that I missed the entire season. Like, I get my work done that I have to do, and I'm sitting there with my t-shirt on, cheering on those games as well. So it's all about the balance and being able to support one another and being able to work through the good and bad times.
Yeah. So this may be a loaded question. It's a 2-part question. Okay. So, do you think women can have it all? And then what is your definition of all? Like, what's your personal definition of it?
I 100% think women can have it all. Not speaking finances or anything like that. Put those things on the back burner. But to be able to have a family that you can come home and be happy to, be happy with, kids that are succeeding, a business that's growing and flourishing. I think I have it all.
Yeah. And your babies are young businessmen as well. Can we talk about that? Because that is like
they have a clothing line called Play Hard Apparel.
Yeah.
And it's geared towards athletes. For them, athlete is a culture. And that's our lives. So yeah, they sell like hoodies and t-shirts, everything geared towards athletes. Their acronym, I don't want to mess it up, but it's hustle, ambition, resilience, determination, hard.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's ambition, but it might be. Okay. They're gonna kill me for this, but hopefully they're not.
Maybe they're watching and they'll type it in the chat.
Maybe.
No, so it's what I am seeing and what I'm hearing is that you have very much modeled certain attributes yourself that your children are seeing, and they're walking in those footsteps because, you know, Lexi, I remember when she had her own fashion line. Is she still doing that?
No, she doesn't do fashion anymore. She was doing kind of a spin-off for me, just geared more towards college students.
yeah.
And once she left college, went to law school, it's just too much
It's
for
a
her to
lot,
handle.
yeah.
Yeah, and with all the traveling. So
But that's still a success. Like the fact that she did it for a certain amount of time, and then you have your two
she's
young
the business
boys.
side of it.
Yeah.
So if there were ever going to be any type of collaboration with us,
Right.
she would handle the business. She's the girl that's going to plug everything in the spreadsheet that says, hey, it looks like you made $20,000 this month, but in all actuality, you only made 10 because of this. So that's her thing.
Right.
And it's my thing as well, but I'd rather stay on the buying end, the more creative end, where that's the part where she's like, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's that whole like right brain, left brain kind of
right.
thing. Like
and my boys taking my pictures for me.
Yeah.
And they did their very first fashion show in January for Dream Week. So they were a part of the fashion show.
How did I was away. I was at a meditation.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, how
they
did
were
I
a
miss
part of
that?
the fashion show hosted by Suge and Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did their first fashion show. They loved it. They were super professional in the
I don't doubt
background
it.
as well. So it was good to see.
Yeah.
It was good to see.
So it sounds like your whole family is kind of operating as a unit where y'all just are really all creating constantly, but I feel like the support is there.
Yeah,
the
support
they
is
support
there.
you as much as young children can, taking the
Right.
photos. And I know they're very opinionated because you've shared some of the things that they've said.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Bryson is what helped me boost my COVID lives.
Really?
So COVID was going on, and I'd ordered some clothing, and they shut us down. And at that time, you didn't even want to drive when COVID first happened.
I remember.
And I had all these boxes come into the house, and Bryson said, "Why don't you go live?" And I was like, "Go live? No way! Like, I don't know what to say." Like, he said, "Just talk. Why don't you go live and just talk about your clothes and try them on?"
And
And
how
I
old
said,
was he
"You know
then?
what? That was 3 years ago. So he was 10."
Wow.
Yeah, so one day he helped me set everything up, got my little clothes out, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so scared, I'm so scared." And he pushed the live button.
You had no choice.
And I was like, "Hey, y'all."
Sink or swim.
Right.
And you
I was
definitely
like, "Hey,
swim.
y'all." And that's been my little signature, "Hey, y'all,"
Yeah.
ever since. And I remember getting on that live, and I felt empowered then. I was so nervous, but people were talking to me. Everybody was at home, so
Yeah,
everyone
it's
was
like a
all
party.
into it, trying on the clothes. Men were involved. I had men coming on my live,
I remember.
buying clothing for other women.
I know who you're talking about. I've seen that happen
on the
3
live,
times.
and I was like,
I know
"This
exactly.
is something amazing,"
Yeah.
and that was good, and
Yeah.
and for him to put that input in, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Self-employed, my boutique is shut down, and I will say, because of his input, I made the most money
Wow.
during those months that I have ever made. I was going
During
live
COVID.
on Mondays and Fridays. I was making like $2,500 a live. All from this
Shout out to
input
Bryson.
that I
Yes.
was scared to.
But I
to
think
do.
there's a lesson in that. Like, it's always important to listen to our children and consider their opinions and their feelings. But, they watch and they're very observant.
Yeah.
And sometimes as parents, it's easy to just kind of like dismiss their ideas.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was very beneficial for you, for the whole family.
Right.
So I think it's just a good thing for parents to sometimes just plug in, like literally, and like
Right.
allow
And
our children to.
It's funny you say that, because growing up, we didn't really have a voice. It was either this
Go
or
sit
it
down
was
somewhere.
that.
Yeah.
And I was just telling my friend the other day, I was sitting at the kitchen island, and I was sitting there, my friend was sitting there, and we were talking. And this past Saturday, actually, and Braden was sitting in the middle. He was working on the computer, doing some things, and I'm standing, and my office is in the front of the house. And I said, Bray, can you do me a favor and go get such and such out my office? And then I said, you know what? Never mind. You don't have to get up from doing what you're doing to go get that from me. I'm standing up and I'm closer to the office than you are. Like, just because you're my child doesn't mean I have to make you my maid as well. Or I have to put all these restrictions on me. Like, if you're feeling sad, like, it's easy for me to say, I feel like laying in the bed. I don't want to do anything today. Why can't our children have those same emotions? Yeah, they don't pay bills. Yeah, they don't go to work, but they're still human.
Well, they're not supposed to do those things.
Supposed to, and it's okay for them to feel, and it's okay for them to have their moments, and it's okay for you to lean over to hug my child, and he says, no, I don't feel comfortable. It's okay. So there's certain parenting techniques, like, I want you to be polite and say yes. You don't have to say yes, ma'am. You can say no, thank you, without saying no, ma'am. But that's the way I choose to parent. And we put so many restrictions, and this is what you should do for your child, and this is what you, but why? They're people too.
Yeah.
And they have issues of their own. And they may not be as big as our issues, but at some point you have to step back and recognize that they're little people, but they still feel. They should
deeply.
Still have a voice, and that's just who they are.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear you say this, because I believe that it's one of the ways we can break those generational curses and trauma by not doing things just because granny or great granny or mom or papa or whoever did it that way. A lot of those things were done out of a necessity for like survival. Right. And we don't have to stay stuck in survival mode. I remember someone telling me once, well, you know, I personally don't believe in hitting children at all, but I know I'm a little different. But she would like pop her child in the mouth. And every time I saw it, I would like, it hurt me, and I would like flinch. And I just asked her one day, I'm like, why do you do that? And she said, because, you know, he shouldn't be talking back. And I'm like, well, what is talking back to you? And we had a really long conversation. And by the end of 3 hours, we had gotten to the root of it, because her grandparents did that to her parents because they were afraid that something would happen to them like in the 1950s, where somebody could get shot for even making eye contact with someone outside of the community, or someone could be seen as sassing someone. So even in the home, there were such like rigid rules around behavior that were based on survival, and we don't have to do that. So it's so refreshing to hear you say that your children are little people too, because they really are.
Yeah, they are. And that goes back to like the breaking generational curses and doing things because it was just something you shouldn't do. Like right now, I should not be sitting on this platform wearing red lipstick. And I'm sure a bunch of people
Did y'all
can
see
relate
Kenyada on that? Yeah.
to me and my red lipstick. If I would have put red lipstick on at like 12, 13 when I was younger, I would have been condemned because red lipstick is only for certain type of people. And
the word harlot was used in my family.
And that's just what we were led to believe growing up. Like, I was a sassy pants, I guess, if I wore in better words, right? So,
But there's a sister who I absolutely adore. Her name is Stacey Jordan Shelton, and she's a prolific writer. She's a, I don't want to misname her, but she's like a life coach. She does a lot of things, but she always ends a lot of her writings and captions with, "It's a new day."
It's a new day.
And I just love that, because that lets you know that at any point in time, you can make a decision to say, you know what? I just think I'm going to do things differently. And it seems like, based on what you shared with us today, like you've done that several times throughout your life, and it has been just fine.
Right.
Like it's not the end of the world if you decide to change course. Yeah. Well, I just got the sign that we have 5 minutes. So what I would like to do is give you an opportunity to talk about your event again on May. If you want to give everyone, the date, the time, where they can purchase tickets, your website, where they can find you, where they can follow, anything you want people to know about Kenyada Bell. Where do we go?
Okay, the event is called It's We the Women. The theme this year is Go with the Flow. It is Sunday, May 7th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I have a Facebook page set up for the event. It's We the Women, Go with the Flow. You can also purchase through the link on my Facebook page, Kenyada Bell. If you don't have access to my page, you can always shoot me a message
Right.
and I can send you the link. This time, it's a smaller scale event. I wanted it that way, so I'm only opening 80 seats. Typically, there's like 200. So I'm only opening 80 seats, and they'll only be for sale for the next 3 weeks. Once I get to 80, that's the max that the venue is
And y'all
going
get
to
your tickets
accept.
because it will sell out.
Also, if you want to be a vendor, there's also a vendor link where you can sign up to be a vendor. I am having what I call a pretty pop-up to where it's giving people an opportunity to showcase their businesses. And that's going to be something new for me as well. I am going to start doing these pretty pop-ups on a regular basis for e-commerce businesses.
Yes.
As an opportunity for people to get in front of people and just showcase their products. But I want it to be in a setting that doesn't feel like buy me, buy me, buy me.
Right.
But more of the music, appetizers and stuff like that, to where you can have a good time, hit the dance floor if you want. You can still get around, meet people, shop, and just have an overall good time.
Right.
So coming soon, the pretty pop-ups.
Awesome. And what I'll do when I share this show again, because I always reshare it a couple of times, I'll share the links to all of your events too. So I'll make sure to get those and put them in. But I really wanted to say thank you. It's been a long time since I've seen you in person, and it's been a pleasure. I do know how busy you are, and your time is valuable. So it just means a lot to me that you said yes, because I really was holding like my breath, like I hope she can come. So thank you so much. I wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. You know, I'm always rooting for you, even when I don't see you. You know, you have a cheerleader over here.
Thank you.
And I'll be at your event. So
Yes.
I'm very much looking forward to that. And I feel like there's something else I wanted to say, but I'm kind of blanking, and I probably need coffee.
Well, I appreciate you for having me.
No, it was a pleasure.
It's just as surprised as you were that I was available to be here. I was just as surprised that you allowed me on your platform. So I
No,
appreciate
it's a pleasure.
that.
I wanted to ask you actually a couple of months ago, and then just life started lifing, and I got a little detour.
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
get it.
It's just what it is.
Right.
So thank you so much. And I have some things planned for later in the year. So we'll be seeing each other again in this capacity. It's kind of a surprise. I'm in the planning stages.
I'm
so.
all for it.
Okay, everyone, that was Kenyada Bell. Please, again, I'm really trying to work on asking everyone to share and like these episodes. And just on a personal note, someone asked me something the other day that I just kind of want to share in closing. They asked me why I decided to do a show for Black women, and I'm going to tell you why. It is very important that we all embrace the power and step into the personal power that we have. We're all alchemists. We're all creators. We all have the power to make things real. When we have ideas, we can make them real. We can put them on paper. We can paint them. We can draw them. But we can also create things like this. And so an ancestor told me to make this show for Black women, and so that's what I did. And there are plenty of places where you can see all sorts of programming. I actually invite everyone to watch this show. I don't care if you're Black, white, Latina, Asian, whatever. Everyone watch the show, but just know that when you watch, you're going to see me conversing with my sisters in the community. And that is that on that. So until next time, More Than Magic, thank you.